This Mixed TV interview is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. Visit us online at wholesalesupply.us.
This area, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Hardee's has a new item. Now, Senator, as you know, I'm supposed to be promoting the advertisers and bragging on them, okay? But they've got, and I love Hardee's, and I've known them, well, they've been here for over 50 years, but they've got an item that I don't like lemons, okay? I'm not crazy about them. So my friends at Hardee's and their marketing director are complaining that I'm just killing them. Well, it's fine. But I love everything else about Hardee's. But so what we did is we gave 10 of these out. Bridget's about to announce the winners, and then they're going to report back to us, and we'll go right to you. So, Senator, give me 1 second. Bridget, go ahead. Who gets those combos with the blueberry and lemon cream cheese pies?
Okay, so our first 10 were Tara Estrada, Brooke Kincaid, Lonnie Moffitt, Bud Kinches, Amy Cavett, Pam Nunes, LaRonda Cochran, Doyle Howard, John Willis, and I'm waiting on one person to give me their name. They sent us a text.
Oh, okay, you got to put your name on it. All right, we're joined now by Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington. Senator, how are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. It's good to be part of the fun there this morning with your raffle there. Thank you for including me.
We're having a lot of fun here. Well, Senator, let's get serious. Obviously, about the Covenant school shooting, there are several things to talk about. I know we've not visited since it happened, but you've called on those materials to be released regarding the Covenant school shooting. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just a terrible tragedy, Steve. I mean, the depraved, writings of this murderer. We have been the entire community in Nashville has been asking, how could somebody so depraved do this? What was going through their mind? How sick were they? What was going on with this person from a mental and a psychological standpoint, and what can we learn from this? I've been, I think, as many people are, been quite concerned and puzzled at the reason for not disclosing what's in this so-called manifesto, the writings of this person. But again, there's certainly a great desire to find out what was behind such a horrible, horrible tragedy.
We're joined by Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington this morning. A couple other issues, or I guess topics, regarding the shooting in Nashville at the Covenant School. Number one, what did you make of the so-called Tennessee 3 coming to the White House and meeting with the president?
Well, I was quite disappointed that the White House decides that a political stunt is what they want to emphasize rather than the grief that the families are going through right there in Tennessee. They certainly didn't invite the folks up who lost loved ones. They are focused much more, I think, on amplifying whatever messages they're trying to send, because they're basically just a political press shop there at the White House. It's not serious. They participate in stunts, and they're just trying to actually leverage a tragic event to press for more of their political policies that really I was really disappointed to see that happen.
And then final question on this topic would be Governor Bill Lee. He is going to call the state legislature back into special session regarding a red flag law that he has proposed. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that what I've talked to a number of legislators, I've talked to Governor Lee. I think that people are in earnest trying to find some way to keep weapons out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them, and that's what they're searching for. But I think they've also got to be very cognizant of the fact that we have a Constitution, a Second Amendment, and that whatever they propose has got to be sensitive to that. They can't violate our Constitution in the process. Certainly, there are those that are using this tragedy as an opportunity to try to argue for, the demolition of the Second Amendment. That voice is always there. They have their press release and talking points ready. I think our legislature is well tuned to this in terms of trying to find a path that might be helpful and constructive. What Senator Blackburn and I have done is put forward legislation that would actually strengthen the schools and protect these areas that where this dastardly occurrence happened by hardening the schools, making our kids safer. That's something that we can do without violating the Second Amendment principles. but at the same time, looking for ways to keep our children safer. It's a tragedy, though. We've got frankly, just a tidal wave of mental illness that's rolled across the country. The pandemic has made it far worse. I think social media is a real challenge as well in terms of the psychology here. And there are many aspects of this to be looked at. I think the legislature will be taking a hard look at everything they can to try to improve the situation.
And program note, we are going to be joined by our local legislative delegation, Senator Adam Lowe, State Representatives Dan Howell and Kevin Raper, as part of our 8 o'clock newscast this morning. We're joined live by Senator Bill Hagerty from Washington. Well, Senator, you talk about a wave of something, and fentanyl definitely fits that description. Had another situation here locally around Chattanooga a couple of days ago with a 2-year-old baby who died from fentanyl. It's just become quite an epidemic. I know that you've got a bill about fentanyl crossing the border. Will you tell me about that, please?
Well, Steve, you're absolutely right. This is an epidemic, and it's the #1 killer of young people between the ages of 18 and 45 in America today. Over 100,000 deaths per year due to drug overdose. The majority of it, fentanyl. Fentanyl is it's a chemical that is processed in China. Chinese Communist Party entities send it over to Mexico, where their partners in the drug cartels manufacture these fentanyl products, whether they be tablets or powder, and then they flush it across our southern border, the porous southern border that Joe Biden has opened up. No matter how many deaths we have from fentanyl, again, the #1 killer of people between the ages of 18 and 45, drug overdose. The Biden administration refuses to do anything to stop it. So I put legislation in place to actually strengthen the last tool that Customs and Border Patrol agents have to protect the border. That's called Title 42. I think many of our listeners will remember Title 42 is a health concern title that allows border agents to turn people away initially because they were concerned about bringing the pandemic across the border, more coronavirus infections. We all agree that the pandemic is behind us. Even the Biden administration has woken up, and they're saying that the pandemic is over as of some certain date in May. So in a few weeks' time, Title 42 is going to expire completely. Border Patrol agents will have literally no tools left to turn people back, and there will be another tidal wave of humanity coming across the border, as well as more illicit drugs, more human trafficking, more crime at that border. So what my legislation does is it modifies Title 42, and it allows Border Patrol agents to use the concern of drug smuggling as a rationale for turning people back. That is a huge health problem for us here in America. It's a very real one that we live with every day. That is something that legitimately needs to be put in place so that our agents have at least a tool to turn back this tsunami of people that are coming across the border and this incredible volume of drugs that are coming across as well. So far, I brought it to the floor 3 times last year. The Democrats blocked it every time. I brought the legislation back now. I'm pushing hard for this, and I hope and pray that the Democrats don't stop it this time. Because if we disarm our Border Patrol agents and they have nothing left, what we're going to see is perhaps a doubling of the number of people that are coming across the border already. Under Joe Biden, we've had roughly 6 million people come into the country illegally. That's just in a little over 2 years. That number is likely to go up to closer to 12 to 15 million if we actually pull away Title 42, and that's what's on tap if my legislation isn't passed. It's a huge problem. We've got to deal with it.
United States Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee. One final question for you, Senator, and that is this letter. I believe you joined some other senators in a letter to the president regarding Chinese cloud services. Will you tell us about that, please?
Certainly. I led the letter. You know, Steve, I served as United States Ambassador to Japan. Mm-hmm. I worked in the Trump administration to block Huawei, ZTE, and other similar situated Chinese firms, what they call Chinese champion firms, that are building technology that can be used to spy on us. We were able to work hard to block them out of the 5G network, the next generation telecommunications network here in the United States. I also worked with Japanese officials to block it in Japan. We've done it in New Zealand, Australia, and a few other countries as well. Again, this is trying to protect the sanctity of the data that flows across our networks. What we have now is those same companies, Huawei, Alibaba, Baidu, these Chinese companies are now putting in place cloud computing services here in America. What we don't want to have are those companies coming into America and basically maintaining and capturing our data, because the Chinese national security law requires any Chinese company that has data on it, it requires that company to turn the data over to the Chinese government. They don't have to disclose it to the customer whose data it is. but any company, an unqualified requirement that if the Chinese government, if the CCP wants that data, they have a right to it. That should be bone-chilling to anybody here in America that thinks that their data could be on any type of Chinese network. We've got to stop this as well. So I had 8 of my colleagues in the Senate join me. We sent a letter to the Biden administration demanding that they block this, that they put it on their entities list, that they put it on a list that is maintained by the Treasury Department that would prevent these Chinese national companies from coming in and essentially taking over cloud computing here in America.
Well, Senator Bill Hagerty, United States Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, live from Washington. Senator, really appreciate you calling and giving us your views, and of course, we'll talk with you soon. As always, Steve, great to be with you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington. And, you know, Bridget, I was going to ask him about the state dinner last night, but it's just, why? We know he wasn't there.
I'm glad you didn't.
So we know he wasn't. I mean, well, why would we? I mean, you know. White House Correspondents' Dinner is Saturday night. They call it the Nerd Prom. Looking forward to that. So it's a big week in Washington. And a big day at Cleveland Plywood Company. How about it, Steve Robinson? Come on now.
This news update brought to you by Cleveland Plywood Company.